Hi, it's Karen from Liongate Farm, and this week we're going to make a little fuzzy bee, and I'm going to teach you about reverse needles. Okay, so today we're going to make this cute little fuzzy easy bee. This is pretty easy, and I make a little wire armature, and I'm going to teach you how to use a reverse needle, which pulls wool out to get him all fuzzy on his yellow stripes. So you're going to need a piece of wire, and I use rusty wire, and this piece is about 7 inches long. And you're going to need some black wool. This is black Corriedale. And then you need some core wool. This is actually Columbia. You need a tiny bit of white for wings and eyeballs. Then a yellow. I have 3 choices here. I think we're going to do the super bright one today. Trusty core wool here. You need wire cutters. If you want to make legs, I'm going to tell you how to do that. You need pipe cleaners and some scissors, maybe. So let's get started. So first you'll cut your wire about 7 inches. That's what you're going to use your wire cutters for. And then you're going to bend it, find center, bend it in half. This is 18 gauge wire, by the way. So find center. And then you're going to just let it cross naturally. And don't even worry about twisting it. So it'll just, and that's going to be your bee's body. You can see that right there. That's going to be the body of the bee. You're going to take your little pliers, curl this around for antennas. And again, this is a simple little project. So that will form the antennas of the bees. Now, if you were going to do legs, if you wanted legs on your bee, you're going to cut your pipe cleaner about 5-inch pieces, and you would just wrap it around like this. And we're not going to make one with legs, I'm just showing you. You would wrap it around your armature just like this. And then add one in the back, and that will make your legs. We don't really felt these. You could if you wanted, but we're not making a bee with legs today. Sometimes I do legs out of wire, but today I just want to teach you how to use your reverse needle. So we're going to take a piece of core wool. My core wool comes, it's like pieces and bats. It's not like roving. And we're going to wrap our little body, go past his hind end. You're going to come up. We're just going to, this is a pretty quick little project. And we're going to stab it on. Remember, you have wire in there. Oh, I'm using a 38 star spiral needle like I always do. Let me move this ruler. Just secure this whole little body on here. Probably going to need some more. Now I'm kind of forming his head as I go, I'm kind of like mapping out where his head's going to be. I want just a little bit more. Now, bees are skinny on either end, so you're making like a cone shape. So think about that when you're wrapping your extra on. We're going to wrap it in the middle. Whoops. You know, I got a message from somebody asking me why I hold things in my hand when I felt. And I'm going to tell you guys the honest truth is I broke my neck last year and it hurts me to look down a lot, so I hold them in my hand. Yes, I do stab myself more often, but I expect it to get better and I won't hold them in my hand so much. So you can see there we have the shape of the bee. So now we're going to wrap it all. First we're going to do the yellow. So you're going to take a little piece off. I'm drafting this out a little bit so it's not as thick. You're just going to wrap your whole bee. Maybe secure it a little bit. Don't worry about his head, it's going to be black. Just going to get this tacked on here first, and then we will felt it all in. Now, if you wanted to be meticulous and do a yellow stripe and then a black stripe and then a yellow stripe, you could do that. This is the faster way. I'm going to switch to my multi-needle. I like it with 2. You know, you can use this with 1, 2, or 3. I never switch it out from 2. So we're going to get him all coated and felted in. Probably take me about 10 minutes. So we'll come back to you in just a second when I have this all coated and felted in. Okay, so it's been about 10 minutes and I've been felting all this yellow in until it's nice and smooth. Just the more you felt it, the smoother it's going to get. So you can't see any of the wrap marks where you wrapped it around. Now it's time to decide where the head's going to be. So I'm going to bend up my little antennas. You know, you can put them however you want. And I'm going to add some black right here for his head, or her head, it depends. So let's just take the little pieces here and I'm going to stack it. You can see that Corriedale that I'm using is a really short staple, so it's perfect for felting. And we are going to apply it right here to the front. Kind of go around those antennas. I'm going to felt this till it's like a little round head. Might need to add a little bit more. You know, I know this bee is not anatomically correct. It's just a whimsical little bee. Who doesn't like bees? And just like on the body, we're going to felt this around until it's nice and smooth. I am using only the single needle because there's wire in here. Something that can happen is it can get flat. And we don't want it flat. We want it a little bit round. So we're going to add a little bit more. You can see I'm not felting very deep. I'm just trying to get his head all smoothed out. A lot of time when you're working on something that's round like this, you can roll them around on your felting pad. So that looks like it has a good shape to it. We'll find out when we put the eyes on if I did enough felting. So now we're going to make some stripes. And I only usually do 2 stripes and the end. So let's do the end first. Same thing, make a little stack. I'm just going to go on the end here. Again, you want to keep this round down here. You can see I'm felting along this edge. Get any stray fibers into the black. I don't want them in the yellow. Again, I'm not working very deep because I'm only working on getting that black on. Now, one of the hardest things in felting is felting straight lines. So we're going to add a stripe on our bee. And we want it equidistant from there all the way around. So if it helps you, take a ruler and see, you know, it's about 3/8 of an inch. It's not quite a half. So kind of figure out how far, if it helps you to use a ruler, use a ruler. I usually just eyeball it. You want your stripe to be about the same width all the way around. You can either add this fiber all the way into the stripe, or you can tear it off. I usually just keep going. I'm going along the very edge, catching the stray fibers. See, there's some right there. Let's get those out of there. I hate when my black fibers get into my other colors. Now, one more stripe. I'm just tacking it down. This time I'm going to tear it off. I have way too much. Stripes are mostly even. So next, before we put the face on, we're going to make little wings. So if you have white fiber, I happen to have this new snow fiber that's kind of cool. I'm going to make 2 little stacks. I don't like my wings to be super thick when I'm making them out of fiber. I like them to be fairly thin. Make 2 little stacks. Kind of figure out how big you want them on your bee. So I'm going to make them about 1 inch. I'm going to draw my wing with my needle. I'm going to draw 2 of them actually, so they're fairly similar. If you want them to be exact, you can always cut out a piece of paper, and then we're going to fold it in around that line we drew. line to be on one wing. I don't know if you're worried too much about them being exact. Close enough. Bees really have 4 wings, but we're only going to make 2. Like I said, this is a whimsical bee. All right, so now I'm going to use my multi-tool. Remember to keep flipping your wing over so it doesn't become part of your surface. Kind of a teardrop shape. You notice I'm not worrying too much about the edges, the very edges. I'll show you why in a minute. All right, so then take your little scissors. Let's trim all these little fuzzies off. Don't cut too much into your wing because then you'll have to felt the edge again. Just cut your little fuzzies off. Those little stray fibers that you couldn't catch up. All right, so now we have 2 little fringy ends. We're going to attach them to the bee. I like them to attach right behind the antennas. Take that fringe, poke it in. A little bit down the center. Then we'll take the other one. This one has a little bit too much fringe, so I'm going to snip some off. Right behind the other antenna. Now we're going to take that wing and gather it up just a little bit on the edge. Now our little wings are on. So next we'll put on some little eyeballs. You need just, we're going to do tiny bits of white. Tiny. Like, I don't even think you can see it in my hand. Make a tiny little ball. You see he has little eyeballs in there, little pupils. You can do my Sharpie trick, Or you can take just a bit of black. It's even less than the eyeball. Just a tiny little piece of black. It's really there. Poke it right into the middle. Like I said, you can use it. I lick my fingers to make this little tiny ball. I bet you're not seeing this very well because it's so small. These two little eyeballs. Now we're going to take just a few fibers of white and twist them up. You can leave them like that, or you can do what I always do, is give them little pink cheeks. Again, a few fibers of your pink. Poke them into a little circle here at the edges. You can gather those fibers up with your needle. My pink is so light, it's almost white. Just a little bit more pink. Make him have a silly little face there. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about, so he's almost done. This little guy's almost done. We're going to talk about reverse needles, where a normal felting needle pushes the wool in and tangles the fiber. This is a this is a 38 star spiral. This is a 38 reverse needle. And the barbs on this needle go the opposite direction. So, to make our fuzzy bee, or if you're going to make any kind of fuzzy animal, we're going to pull the wool out with this needle. Now, when you use a reverse needle, the important thing to remember is whatever color you want the fuzz is the color that needs to be underneath of the top color. And you remember we used white, so this is going to pull out white and yellow fibers. So if I did this over, I'm just doing the yellow spots, the yellow stripes. If I pulled the fiber out of the black, it would pull out yellow. Like if we wanted to make him all fuzzy, but I only like to do the yellow stripes. So if we go along, so if you're making a dog or anything that you want fluffy, you just take this needle and the more you work it, the more fuzzy it will get. Now, you're going to see that they're going to be long. See these fuzzies that are sticking out? So then you can just trim them down to the length you want them. Go to the next stripe. It's kind of a fun process. pigs are hairy, it's good to use the reverse needle on a pig. Pull out their little fuzz. I just methodically work around the bee. You can see the yellow's becoming a little less bright than it was because we're pulling out that white fiber. Be careful because there's a wire in there. Oops. Did not mean to reverse his wing. If you stick those in your felting pad, they'll kind of get stuck. Make sure, now let's trim off his extra fuzzies. I just try to make them evenly fuzzy all the way around. Because I don't want too much fuzz in the black, but I do want them to be fuzzy. And then if you really want to finish off your little bee, you can make it a queen bee and glue on this little crown. And we'll glue it on and come back, because it's totally cute. So I didn't like the pink that I put on this bee's cheeks, so I went and got some new pink. Makes his eyes stand out a little bit better. And we added the little crown. You could put this on a wire if you wanted it to be in a flower arrangement, or you could put a piece of fishing line and make it into an ornament. But let's see those bees that you make. Thanks for joining us for our little felt a bee tutorial today. If you like it, just make sure you subscribe to our channel and like the video. It really helps us out. And we'll see you again next week with something else. I don't know what yet though.